And I want to be very clear. I thought what Israel chose to do about blowing up the pagers and then walkie-talkies, and then after targeting and eliminating membership and leadership of Hezbollah, I absolutely support that. In fact, if anything, I love it.
Yes, the lurch of the United States Senate, John Fetterman. Is he still dressing like a teenage skateboarding rapper stoner when he goes into the Senate? Yes, he is. Yes, he most certainly is. But that's okay because he's such a genius. Well, we have received a good deal of response about Robin, our caller Robin, a Democrat from Georgia, who had a lot to say. And we practice free speech here. We're not Democrats. We believe in Western values. We support the Bill of Rights in the United States of America, the Constitution. We are a constitutional republic, and we here at the Chris Plante Show, we are on our side. And I don't mean, like me and Michael Piercy and Jasmine, where it's not the side that we're on. We're on the side of Western civilization, of the Enlightenment, of rights, and equal rights under law and equal justice under law. And that's where we run into some speed bumps these days, isn't it? Yes, it is. Well, happy Monday to you, and I hope you had a great American weekend. I know I did, and we did. My best girl and I, we did, and all is well where we live, except we did learn in the Washington Post that the high today is predicted to be 73 degrees, but it will feel like 74 degrees, and we're a little concerned about that. We're kind of upset about that because it's just more proof positive of climate change and global warming that today's 73-degree Fahrenheit temperature may feel like 74 degrees. How do they know? I'm gonna monitor this closely, and it may turn out to only feel like 73 and a half degrees. It might just be 73, and maybe in 3/4, maybe 73 and 3/4 degrees. Isn't that amazing? Yes, it is. Now, we've got a lot to get to because there are a lot of dumb people out there. Almost all of them, not all of them, but almost all of them are Democrats. They might be members of Congress like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. They might just be your average Democrat voter. Could just be the Democrat voter. Isn't that amazing? Yes, sir. So we've got. I'll tell you what I do want to get to. I want to get to Kamala Harris because Kamala Harris she arrived back at Andrews, Joint Base Andrews, it's called now, Andrews Air Force Base, aboard Air Force Two. She's campaigning, one of the 757s that the vice president and cabinet secretaries might fly around on. I have flown around much of the world on those airplanes, those blue and white airplanes with the Air Force One paint job, but not the 747s, just the 757s. And out of Andrews, I've flown to a great many places on those airplanes. And I prefer really to fly on the E-4B, the Doomsday plane, big 747 out of Andrews, but that's me. But right now, let's go to Kamala because she was arriving at Andrews and she got off the airplane and she walked over to the cameras of a bunch of wagging tongue fluffers who couldn't wait to give her a tongue bath the moment she walked over to them. And she said something dumb because she was speaking. Therefore, she had to. That's the only option. But when she was asked about, maybe a debate, which President Trump is saying, no more debates. We're on the campaign trail. Been there, done that. We're moving on. And Kamala, who is not doing as well in the polls, in particular in those all-important swing states where, they swing America. And that's where these are states where when you go to parties, you put your car keys in a fishbowl and then you go home with somebody else's wife. That's the swing state. But at least when the Democrats are in charge. And that's how monkeypox gets around, thanks to the Democrats and all that. But let me go to Kamala because she her current husband, he was boinking the housekeeper, right, in his old household, That's what was going on with him. And the news media say he's the most handsome, the sexiest man alive because it's a sick cult, and they've got a lot of sexual issues. But let's go to Kamala at Andrews and asked on the question of debating President Trump again before Election Day, presumably, because why would you after? She gave this answer where she said, I think she wants to debate possibly Dan Quayle. It's unclear.
Have you heard I would like another debate, so I'm hoping the former vice president will agree to that. But we have a lot more to discuss.
I'm sorry, you hope that the former vice president will agree to that. The former vice president, she's hoping, will agree to another debate. Now, it's perfectly unclear who she's talking about. She is the current vice president. Mike Pence is the most recent former vice president, and that is kind of a weird thing to say because that's not how this works. I don't think you debate the former vice president. She must be referring to the former president of the United States, who would be Donald John Trump, who she's already debated once. But she doesn't, her brain is no good. And just like Joe Biden's, these Democrats, it's a kakistocracy.
I'm hoping the former vice president will agree to that.
I'm hoping the former vice president will agree to that. And now Kamala Harris accepts CNN debate invitation so they can give her a tongue bath. You can go debate nobody because, again, they rig it from the get-go. Who would they have? Jim Sciutto moderating, a former Obama administration official. Maybe they could have Jake Tapper, a former Democrat Capitol Hill staffer. They could have David Axelrod, a former Obama White House official. They could have, because these are just a few of the many talents. But yesterday, after Kamala Harris said she is eager to debate the former vice president, I'm pretty sure she meant to say the former president. She's, I think, talking about Trump. But as vice president, while running for president, it's clear she doesn't know the difference between president and vice president, which is a little bit ironic, I suppose. Isn't that amazing? Yes, sir. Just amazing stuff. The Democrat Party and the news media, they're all over the polls. It's all within the margin of error, but they say this and they say that. So Harris, CNN says, hey, you just said at Andrews that you'd like to debate the former vice president. We won't mention that you screwed that up and said former vice president. We will offer you a forum, a Democrat Party tongue bath forum, where they'll all be naked in a hot tub, except for whoever the former vice president is. I think Dan Quayle should step up. Dan Quayle, who to this day is certainly a lot younger than Joe Biden. Dan Quayle is 77 years old. Joe Biden is 81. Dan Quayle was vice president in the George H.W. Bush administration, and Dan Quayle is 77 years old. Donald Trump is 78 years old, and Joe Biden is, of course, 81 years old. So Joe Biden Dan Quayle from way back then is younger than, but now we got Kamala Harris, but her brain is either 104 years old or it's 4 years old because her brain is no good. Vice President Kamala Harris on Saturday accepted an invitation from CNN to debate former President Donald Trump, or as she calls him, the former vice president, on October 23rd, challenging her rival to another engagement on a public stage in the final weeks of the campaign. Let's have it hosted by Newsmax and the Heritage Foundation. And then we'll think about it. But in the meantime, Kamala would have to agree to do a Newsmax-hosted debate, and then discussions may proceed. Now, I just want to tell you what our filthy, corrupt, rotten, stinking news media does. And in particular, some of the journalists they have there, they have Joyless Reed, devout racist, anti-Semite, America-hating, anti-capitalist, $1 million talent at NBC News. And they have the Reverend Al Sharpton. They pay him enormous sums of money to be absolutely wrong about everything, but at least he's racist. So they got that going. But an amazing moment when another racist, LGBTQ, Jonathan Capehart was, he had his TV show. And now we just played. Now let's just play real quick the Kamala audio again at Andrews.
Have you heard I would like another debate? So I'm hoping the former vice president will agree to that. But we have a lot more to discuss.
So Jonathan Capehart at MSNBC played the video of Kamala arriving at Andrews, and the big headline, was she's challenging apparently the former vice president of something to another debate. But Jonathan Capehart, who is a Democrat Party fluffer, who is on the hot tub tongue bath every single day, he cleaned up Kamala's gaffe for her.
We have breaking news tonight from Vice President Kamala Harris. Moments ago, when she arrived back at Joint Base Andrews outside of Washington, she issued another call for Donald Trump to debate her in October.
Join me on the debate stage. Let's have another debate. There's more to talk about, and the voters of America deserve to hear the conversations that I think we should be having on substance, on issues, on policies. What's your plan? What's my plan? And we should have another one before Election Day.
Oh, and then they edited out, I want to debate the former vice president. That was on the cutting room floor, as they say, as so many of them are after the lights go out. Isn't that amazing? And then this morning, because we like to look at our filthy media, Joke Scarborough with his semi-inflatable flotation device of a third wife. Has she slammed her head against a table in his office yet, or has that not happened yet? On Morning Joke this morning, they also wanted to cover the fact that brave Kamala wants to debate somebody, she just doesn't know who.
Vice President Harris ramping up the pressure on former President Trump to debate her again after she agreed to a second face-off in October.
I would like another debate. We have a lot more to discuss.
Mr. Trump so far has not accepted.
Wait a minute, they edited out the vice president thing because they're filth, because they're North Korean communist bootlicks, because they're not journalists at all. They're nothing like journalists. They don't resemble journalists. What they do does not resemble journalism. It does resemble North Korean and Iranian-style propaganda and nothing more. That's our news media, and they just cleaned it up when you're a Democrat. That's why I like to say it's good to be a Democrat. There's really no reason that it's good to be a Democrat. You're much more likely to get monkeypox and to get all kinds of scabies and what do they call them now? STIs, right? Sexually transmitted infections, because they grew so tired of talking about their STDs, their sexually transmitted diseases, and they create new ones like monkeypox, everything. Then they use that word up for a while, and then they say, no, now it's Mpox. Yeah, you're the Mpox of the idiots. Just amazing stuff. Your Democrat Party. So when you're a Democrat, they just edit that out and then play it on TV as though they're covering the news when they're not. Aren't they amazing? We've got Joe Biden for you, and Kamala Harris, and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and Leon Panetta. Let's not forget Leon Panetta, another CIA filth. Oh, and all these corrupt intelligence people. The filthy, rotten, we need to build a prison for our own intelligence leadership. Wait till you hear what they're doing now. They lie and they cheat and they corrupt our elections. That's our own intelligence community. It's a community, you know. It should be a gated community, and they shouldn't be allowed to leave. Just amazing. You know, football season is here, you may have noticed, and Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action while you're watching football, like tonight, Monday Night Football. The app, in fact, there are two games. The app is really simple to use, easy to use. You pick two or more players across any sport. Pick more or less on their projections, and you can win, listen now, up to 100 times your money. And all withdrawals are fast and safe and secure. Not only that, but Prize Picks is the only daily fantasy app with insurance. Listen to this. injury insurance at Prize Picks. If one of your players goes down in the first half, Prize Picks does not charge you, does not count it against you as a loss. What? That's amazing. So download the Prize Picks app today and use the code PLANT. That's me. You're going to get a $50 credit instantly when you play $5. The code is PLANT, P-L-A-N-T-E, like a potted plant, but with an E on the end. Nobody knows why. On Prize Picks, and you get a $50 credit instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to get your $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks. Run your game. Must be present in certain states. To play, visit prizepicks.com for details and restrictions. Yes, sir. Yeah, the media just cleans it up for you. It's not really good to be a Democrat with all the sexual diseases and stuff, but when it comes to being covered by the news media, boy, is it good to be a Democrat.
I'm hoping the former vice president will agree to that, but we have a lot more to discuss.
Okay, let's go to the telephones, Michael. A lot to get to, of course. Let's go to Nabil, calling from Northwest Arkansas. Nabil, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
How are you doing, Chris?
I'm great, Nabil. Thank you. Welcome.
Yeah. With all this talk about DEI and stuff like that, do these people remember the lyrics of the song, Free Your Mind, the rest will follow, be colorblind, and don't be so shallow? Wherever did that go?
Wherever did that go? Wherever did it, Martin Luther King's axiom, dreaming of a world where we'll be judged by the content of our character and not the color of our skin. I was raised in that world, Nabil, and I don't know where these people came from, but they didn't grow up in the same country that I grew up in.
Right. Well, I grew up in a different country, too. And a little story. I actually, when I first came to America back in 1990, I was supporting the Democrat Party. Uh-huh. But for the same reason that a lot of these people say it is, for civil rights, women's rights, all this stuff, the environment. But then in the 4 years that I spent in college, I was like, wait a minute, something's off here. Something's not right. And I kind of went away. I just kind of, issue by issue, I kind of just like, no way, I can't support this. I can't support that. And by the time 4 years had passed and I graduated, I was like, I could no longer consider myself to be a pro-Democrat. Then I watched my first episode of the Rush Limbaugh Show on TV, and then I switched over. And I've been like that since then.
Wow.
I'm like, hey, guys, don't stay in one lane all the time. Look beyond.
What country did you grow up in?
I grew up in Nigeria.
Oh, okay. Africa. All right. Well, welcome to America. Thank you for growing up and for realizing that you were being misled and lied to. God bless you. And the Democrats are now not only on the side of Hamas and Iran, now they're on the side of Hezbollah. Hezbollah fired 150 rockets into Israel in the last 24 hours. And the Democrats say, well, sure, because Jews, even their Jews say that. They brainwash people by the millions. Isn't it amazing? So Hezbollah fired 150 missiles, rockets, into Israel in 24 hours with the goal of killing as many civilians as possible, children, women. They could care less. They're bloodthirsty goblins from hell. And the Democrats, they're not on the side. And Leon Panetta, do you remember Leon Panetta? Leon Panetta, lifelong Democrat, political operative, Clinton, White House, CIA director. Our dirty, rotten CIA is, I got to tell you, not so long ago, I had a good deal of respect for the CIA. The CIA has self-immolated like so many Democrats have in the last couple of years. Amazing stuff, I've got to say. But Leon Panetta, I've got to say that the program, which apparently started 6 years ago with Israel, they intimidated first they went to an electronics manufacturer in Taiwan and bought the rights to make pagers. I mean, who uses pagers anymore in Taiwan? They're like, oh, these idiots want to buy our pager production. Nobody. That's unless you're a drug dealer in the 1980s, who uses pagers? But Israel went and bought the rights to make these pagers that had been made in Taiwan, and they moved the manufacturer to Budapest. And as I understand it, this whole effort started about 6 years ago. 6 years ago. This is what happens when you mess with Israel. They have more Nobel Prizes than any group of people on the planet. And interestingly enough, the Lebanese and the Gazans do not have any Nobel Prizes because they're not the brightest bunch in the world, but they'll murder you. They'll murder your whole family. So they got that going for them. That's really their strength right there, is the bloodthirsty murder thing. But in any case, Israel then moved. They stood up a factory in Budapest, in Hungary, and they started making pagers. And as they were making pagers, I'm going to guess that I don't have any inside information on Mossad or Israeli intelligence on this operation, but I've read enough about it where I think what happened here is fairly obvious at this point. And so Israel started manufacturing these pagers, and then they made it known to Hezbollah in Lebanon that Israeli intelligence was listening to their cell phones, their iPhones and stuff, and tracking their movements by tracking their phones, their smartphones, right? Smartphones, dumb people, kind of like here. And so they let it be known to Hezbollah that their phones are an intelligence vulnerability to them, that Mossad is tracking their movements, listening to their conversations, watching their text messages back and forth. So they know everything about what's going on in Hezbollah. And when you let Hezbollah know that, then they choose an alternative. They say, well, we got to stop using our cell phones like they're safe. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to issue pagers to thousands and thousands of Hezbollah ghouls, and we're going to page them, and then you call on a landline or you get a code and it tells you to go to a building or whatever, but you know what the code is. And so they all get these pagers. Little did they know that long before they even bought the pagers, apparently got a package deal of some kind. Hey, come in, we'll make you a deal. And so they get thousands of pagers, and little did they know that their pagers were already packed with explosives and could be detonated remotely at any time, right? And they're like, wow, that is a crazy scheme. And again, a 6-year plan, a plan that started 6 years ago. So Hezbollah is no longer using their cell phones. Their communications are constrained, and that's good for Israel. And then they go to the pagers, and the pagers that they're buying and putting in their front pockets next to their gonads are packed with explosives, which is all the more hilarious too. And then their pagers, now because the plan is much more elaborate than this, the pagers start exploding one day, a week ago or so, and blowing their gonads off and killing them. And you pull your pager out and look at it because you hold it up to your face to look at it. It's blowing their faces off and blowing their eyes out and stuff. Hey, I'm getting a page. I'm very important. I'm like doctor. And then their faces blow up. And that's pretty hilarious. The next day they said, we better switch to our two-way radios. I'm guessing, beautiful, wonderful Motorola radios, a great American corporation. And then it became Motorola, because they're Motorola's. They go to use their two-way radios. I've used a lot of Motorola two-way radios over the course of my adult lifetime, and they're a great product. So they go to their Motorola radios. I'm not sure they're Motorola, but I assume they are because they're the highest quality. So they're using their two-way radios, and then their two-way radios start blowing up, and those are larger, so you can put a bigger explosive in there, and that'll blow you up real good. So that's blowing them up. I said, dag nabbit, we can't use our pagers. We can't use, I'm not sure if they said dag nabbit, but that we can't use our pagers. We can't use our two-way radios because we're getting blowed up all over the place, and it's our job to blow other people up, not to get blowed up. I know it's blown up, but it's more fun to say blowed up. And And then they moved to their cell phones, and a lot of their cell phones started blowing up alongside their heads, too. And they're like, for the love of, Mike, do they say for the love of Mike there? And now they started, they said, we got to meet in person because we have no safe way of communicating anymore. So call the leadership together, send couriers on foot with no shoes running through the slums of Beirut and running around. Everybody's got to meet in person. And they tell them all, you got to meet at, 666 Jihad Boulevard in South Beirut in the basement because we're all the senior leadership is being called there. We got to meet there. So they go to meet there. But Israel, because they're crafty and they're smart and they have all these Nobel Prizes, they found out because they have intelligence gathering going on the ground in Beirut. And they said, there's a meeting at 666 Jihad Boulevard at 6:66 p.m. See, you can't have 6:66 p.m., but that's okay. And so they meet there, and all the leadership meets there. And Israel made this happen because they cut off all of their – and when you got a bunch of Mossad people sitting around a table, and they're playing this out, phase 1, phase 2, and then predictably, when they have no way to communicate, that they're going to have to meet in person. And so now somebody at the end of the table says, well, we've got to find out where the in-person meeting is going to take place of the senior leadership, and then we need to drop a bomb on them. You drop a bomb on me. And so an airplane flies over real high and drops a laser-guided bomb that we created or a GPS-guided bomb, and they drop it right down their downspout and blow up all the jackals that are meeting in person because it's the only way that they can talk to each other is in person. Genius. Absolute genius. Wonderful stuff, right? Now, if you're Leon Panetta, who's a Democrat, a lifelong Democrat, and he was CIA director under the Democrats, former CIA director Leon Panetta calls Israel's pager explosion operation. It's Israel's pager explosion operation, which is just a wonderful, wonderful thing. Genius, absolute genius. And he calls it terrorism. Now let's go to Leon Panetta because this is amazing stuff. Former CIA director Leon Panetta, Democrat, referred to Israel's pager operation as terrorism during an interview with CBS Fake News. CBS Fake News, Leon Panetta.
The United Nations labeled the operation a violation of international law. And
it is?
It's raised some eyebrows here at home, too.
The ability to be able to place an explosive in technology that is very prevalent these days and turn it into a war of terror, really, a war of terror. This is something new.
Is it terrorism?
I don't think there's any question that it's a form of terrorism.
I don't think it's any question that it's. See, the Israelis are the terrorists. The damn Jews are the terrorists. And that is Hamas propaganda. That is Hezbollah propaganda. That is Iranian propaganda. Leon Panetta should experience a pre-dawn FBI raid, be taken away in cuffs. They should think about shooting his dog. I don't know if the dog did anything, but that's okay. So left-wing Mediaite. In Lebanon last week, mass explosions of pagers and walkie-talkies belonging to members of the Iran-backed Shiite group Hezbollah, which means Party of Allah. Hezbollah is the Party of Allah. And I got to say, the pager, genius. And now the left in the United States, and these people are the left. They're fascist lefties. The attack has been widely attributed to Israeli intelligence organization Mossad, leading to the deaths of dozens of people, maybe hundreds, depending on which reports you're looking at, and wounding thousands. Now, wait, you call that terrorism? You see, in the last 24 hours, Hezbollah has fired at least 150 rockets, missiles into Israel, and they've been bombing and showering Israel with missiles and rockets and exploding drones for months now. 60,000, between 60,000 and 100,000 Israelis that live in northern Israel have had to evacuate because the Party of Allah has been raining death down upon them. Now, That is terror. That is terrorism, and they are terror groups, radical Islamic terror groups, jihadis, right? And the UN calls it a violation of international law. But where is the UN when it comes to Hezbollah raining death down upon civilian populations? And apparently Israeli intelligence learned that Hezbollah was about to launch a major attack, a major assault. Isn't that amazing? And so they started the pager thing. And I just love the pager blitz. It will go down in history. Whoever came up with it will be a legend. The Israeli Defense Ministry has a spokesperson. He's a spokesman, actually. He's gender unambiguous. His name is Daniel Nagari, and Daniel Nagari was on the television yesterday talking about, and now they're warning people in certain areas of Lebanon to evacuate, just as they did in Gaza. Get away from this Hezbollah headquarters, just as they told him, get away from the Hamas headquarters. But the Islamists put their children in there hoping that they'll be blown up and killed so they can shoot video of it, and then the UN will say, oh, see, this is a violation of international law. And then Leon Panetta, who is a communist pig dog, that's a Schweinhund in German. Just amazing stuff. So Israeli defense spokesman Daniel Hagari.
We advise civilians from Lebanese villages located in and next to buildings and areas used by Hezbollah for military purpose, such as those used to store weapons, to immediately move out of harm's way for their own safety.
And this is the Democrat Party as they turned against Israel because Israel represents civilization in the battle between civilization and the opposite of civilization. And here we are again, the Israelis telling people ahead of time, get away from this area, get away from that area, because we're coming and we know what we're doing, even though you're a bunch of exploding savages. And by the way, phone's for you. Hey, a phone call. This ought to rattle them for the rest of their miserable, stinking lives. Isn't that amazing? And then we've got Cobble Kirby here in the United States, a disgraced former naval officer, Cobble Kirby, also John Kirby. Amazing stuff. And Cobble Kirby, just an embarrassment, saying, well, hey, they're not talking to anybody. There's no diplomacy going on anywhere.
We still believe that there is time and space for diplomacy to work here. We understand that it's not moving in the best direction, but that doesn't mean we think that engaging in another full front, another all-out war in the north is the best thing for Israel.
Yeah, another all-out front is the best thing for Israel. Well, I think Israel knows what is best for them, and they're the ones gathering intelligence, and they don't trust the U.S. government under Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, so they're keeping it all a secret. They might as well give it to the Soviet Union, the intel, might as well give it to Iran if they're giving it to the Biden administration, because they have betrayed our closest ally on behalf of Iran. Did you know that if left untreated, AFib, atrial fibrillation, can increase your risk of stroke and, of course, of heart failure? AFib runs in families, so if someone in your family has it or, a history of heart issues, you can have a higher chance of developing AFib yourself. That's why you should check out, listen to this stuff. It is just amazing. Cardia Mobile. They've got a personal EKG by AliveCor, FDA cleared to detect AFib, and it's a pocket-sized EKG. I have one, and it's a little device that gives you 6 different views of your heart. It's incredibly easy to use. You can take a medical-grade EKG right on your smartphone in just 30 seconds and easily share accurate EKG data with your own doctor. Now, this month is actually AFib Awareness Month, so it's the perfect time to manage your heart health. For a limited time, Cardia Mobile is giving 20% off to all my listeners. That's you. All you have to do is go to cardia.com. That is KARDIA.com, KARDIA.com. or go to Amazon and use the code 20PLANT. 20PLANT, that's 20PLANTE, to get 20% off your Cardia Mobile 6L. An amazing device could save your life and your family. Sponsored by Alive Core Inc. Yes, sir. Yeah, so our government has turned against the people that are on our side because the Democrats are in charge. The left is in charge. And if you're a Democrat, I'd love to hear from you what your thinking is with what has happened to your party. It turns out the radios were not the two-way radios that exploded, not made by Motorola, made by a Japanese firm called ICOM. It's the ICOM ICV82 radios. And the company in Osaka, Japan, very upset. They say, we stopped making those a decade ago. These guys are always buying used stuff in Lebanon. All right, let's see. Where are we going now? Let's go to the phones. Let's go to Hack, calling from Bethesda, Maryland. Oh, Hack, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
I'm on the Chris Plant Show again. Did you know that now in the Middle East, all electronic devices come with a trigger warning?
Trigger warnings? They have trigger warnings on their electronic devices?
Trigger. And thanks to Mossad, the expression blowing up someone's phone has taken on a whole new meaning.
My phone is blowing up. I got to tell you, I'm just being bombarded here. They come with a trigger warning.
What was the message that came over the pager? I think it was Mazel Tov.
Mazel, hey, schmuzzle. Schmuzzle,
All right. I'll let you go to the next caller. There you go. Bing, bang, boom. I'm in, I'm out.
There it is. Thanks, Hack. Yeah, they come with a trigger warning. Yeah, I think the page was 72 virgins. And then you look at it, 72 virgins. Of course, we know that was misinterpreted. And what it really means is 72 raisins. You get 72 raisins. We had that explained to us by Fried Zucchini, who is the burning bush of truth. But I love it, a trigger warning on their electronic devices. They still make one electronic device in Lebanon, but only one, and it's a detonator. That's the only thing they make. It's a detonator. A lot of grown men there who are missing fingers because they're up late. They're not making models of airplanes at night. They're making bombs.